Commence greetings, humans. I am Omega 12 Imperial Robot. Today, I will be discussing fellow robot UR-025. Commence fabrication sequence. Yeah. Idiots. They all think I'm a bloody robot. I mean, who thinks that, eh? I mean, who would... Oh. Greetings. Sorry about that, some slight technical difficulties there. Not sure what happened. Certainly no one trying to pass themselves off as a robot, turning out to be something quite different at all. I don't know how you would have gotten that impression from the video so far. Welcome back. This is another of the BlackStone Fortress character focuses here on Bearded Brushstrokes. Today we're looking at the Imperial robot UR-025. UR-25 is definitely one of the more interesting characters in the BlackStone Fortress, partly from a lore point of view, because as I say, he's not actually a robot, he is what is called a man of iron. Now that makes him somewhere in the region of 20 to 30,000 years old. Certainly the Men of Iron, the Men of Iron were rogue AI that plagued humanity at the end of the Golden Age, or the Dark Age of technology, looking back on it now, from 40k. They predate the Horus Heresy, they predate the Great Crusade and the Age of Strife. They are probably one of the main causes of the Age of Strife, as humanity battled against the Men of Stone and then the Men of Iron, but they are very, very old. So I was quite surprised to see that there are still Men of Iron in the galaxy, and in fact was very, very happy to find Games Workshop willing to delve into their lore in ways we haven't really seen before, you know. With this and the Navigator character, the various sort of things on the BlackStone Fortress itself. I've long wondered how they would do sort of a dungeon crawler in 40k, and now we've seen that with this, as I say, this willingness to delve into the lore and produce rogue traders and navigators and Men of Iron. Moving on then, in fact, to UR-25's movement. And it's quite special, partly because it's the lowest in the game. I don't think you can go any lower than 1, really. Maybe one day we'll end up with some stationary turrets for the game, I don't know, but at the moment UR-25 has the lowest movement stat of anything in the game, which is 1 hex. Why that is? Because he's a robot, or certainly a machine, and therefore doesn't move very quickly. He's not expected to move with any degree of alacrity and speed, because he is supposed to be a mindless tool, a mindless robot, serving the will of his masters there. And in fact, his quote at the top of the page there is, "How can I be of assistance?" So he's really going to great lengths to keep up the charade. And I've no doubt that he can probably move faster if he needed to. And in fact, if you use, rather than a 1, 2 or 3 action dice to move him, then he can move 2 spaces, just like most of the rest of the team. As you also might expect, being basically a walking suit of armour, the UR-25's defense there is the D12, which means it's very, very difficult to get damage through to him, so that it actually causes wounds. And we'll see later on that doesn't really matter to UR-25 anyway, because he's a bit hardcore. His agility, however, again in line with his movement and the fact that he is a machine, his agility is very, very low indeed, and therefore we're looking at a D6, a 2 in 6 chance rather than the 2/3 chance of the D12 there of something going well, or 1/3 chance in fact. But his vitality, again, suitably high, because again it's quite difficult to hit something vital on a robot, and especially one that's been around for so long. He's obviously taken pains to armour and to protect the various bits of him that are required to keep him going. Here's one of the downsides of UR-25. Apart from his movement, he only has an action dice count of 3, so he can only perform 3 actions in a given turn. Now that's not so bad, considering how tough he is. He's going to be around for a while, so he doesn't need to make as many actions, because he can just weather the storm and get through combats through attrition. And that's where the use of the higher rolled activation dice, the number 4 or more action dice, comes in getting him to move a bit quicker. So moving on to what he can do with those actions, his weapon actions are the Mark 1 assault cannon. As I say, being a man of iron, one of humanity's attempts at artificial intelligence, he is really quite remarkably old, and therefore is wielding a Mark 1 assault cannon. Now the Mark 1 is special in that it's got 3 firing modes. Okay, 1+, 4+, and 6+. For each of those, you must target something at least 2 hexes away from UR-25, and in fact that 2 to 3 slot, that medium slot, he is hitting on a D12, which makes it quite deadly, quite a high chance of success, with 2/3 chance of anything, something good happening, and 1/3 chance of getting a critical, which is quite nice. Now, as I say, it is a longer range weapon. It's not one that you'll find him batting people around the head with in close combat, because it's not a close combat weapon. You can't use it at range 1, but you can use it at range 4+. Its abilities are quite diminished at that point though, because it's hitting on the D8, which means that you've got a 50% chance of a decent outcome. So sort of swings and roundabouts. You really do want to be up close with him, but at the same time it doesn't have an awful lot of movement. Now those 3 firing modes are important, because as with a few of the following fire kind of things, as we've seen with Thaddeus for example, he can target either one creature with a 1+, or fire twice with a 4+, or fire 3 times with a 6+. Now those additional shots must be against either the same hex or a hex which is adjacent to one he's already fired at. So you could hit 1, 2, 3 hexes if you use a 6+ action, because the first hex is adjacent to the second hex and the second hex is adjacent to the third. You fire each at once so as not to get confused with rolling 2 dice and picking the highest, and you do them one at a time, and they can either be at the same target or in the same hex or an adjacent hex, as I say then. Okay, probably UR-25's most reliable and most important attack is his Power Claw, which is his 1+ attack, always. Okay, in much the same way as the Mark 1 Assault Cannon is a long-range weapon that you'll never see him use in combat, he's got no way of using the Power Claw outside of that one range. But what an attack it is. 50% chance of hitting, and I've never actually sat down and done worked out the odds, but with a reroll essentially, because you roll 2 dice and pick the highest with those d8s. So it's quite vicious in close combat, and the reason that I say it is important is, as we'll see later on, is it links into his secret agenda. Although it could be argued that everything that UR-25 does is some kind of secret agenda. Okay, he's got a couple of special rules. Special rules are Mobile Bastion, and that rule is that you get to re-roll defense rolls against incoming hits for UR-25, but he cannot benefit from cover. So he's always going to be taking full damage, regardless of whether he's behind a wall or bulkhead or piece of scrap, because he's too tall and can't duck. But you get to reroll his defense dice. And if he makes a vitality check, which is a critical, which, as I say, on a d12 is going to be 1/3 of the time, he gets to heal 2 normal wounds, or he can heal 1 grievous injury, which is very, very important, because nobody else can do that whilst they're actually in the BlackStone Fortress without the aid of Archaeotech. Again, it could be argued that UR-25 is in fact Archaeotech. And as I say, UR-25's secret agenda is that because he's trying to find a way to commune with the BlackStone Fortress, which he sees as a kindred spirit, he is going to find one of the spindle drones and squish it, and sort of try and get hold of the innards and have a peer inside and maybe try and absorb some of the tech. And that's what makes him inspired. So let's have a look at an inspired UR-25. So once he has killed a spindle drone, UR-25 gets the following kind of upgrades. Looking at his stat blocks, nothing much is very different, to be honest with you, except that he gets to move 2 hexes for a 2+ action rather than a 4+ now. Okay, his Mark 1 Assault Cannon can do that following fire on a 1, 3 or 5 now, so that's 1 shot on a 1+, 2 shots on a 3+, and 3 shots on a 5+, all of which are, apart from the 1 of course, down 1 from the scores required when he's not inspired. The Power Claw also changes and becomes a mighty weapon. Okay, he's now rolling 2d12 rather than the d8, picking the highest, which again means he's got a 2/3 chance rather than a 50% chance of hitting somebody, and a 1/3 chance of that hit being a critical, which is quite frankly ridiculous, especially for a 1+ action that he can then go on to do again and again. He doesn't have any additional action spaces, which you might expect that he does, but I'm glad that that stayed the way it is, because it doesn't alter the way he's played too much and doesn't make him too overpowered when he's inspired. In terms of his other special rules, his Mobile Bastion and Repair System remain the same, so he re-rolls his defense rolls but can't, because he's too damn big. Doesn't suddenly develop knees when he becomes inspired. He can't use cover, and as in terms of his mobile repair systems. He's still, when he gets a critical on his vitality roll of a d12, which is going to happen 1/3 of the time, he can ignore a critical injury, a grievous injury, and flip it instead to a normal wound, rather than getting rid of 2 normal wounds. And that means that the following turn, when he makes a vitality check, he can flip take the wound off completely. And of course, if he gets near Thaddeus the Purifier, Thaddeus can heal him for 1 anyway. Okay, so that's UR-25 in BlackStone Fortress.
Okay, so due to some actual technical difficulties, I've lost the video section for the 8th edition discussion, the 40k discussion. So I'm going to do it via audio because I don't really have time to set the video back up again. But here we are. So looking at UR-25 in actual 40k, he's 40 points for a single model. Okay, he is 2 power. So if you're including him in an open play game, then you can use the power rating rather than the points value there. He is an elite's choice, and let's have a look at his stat line. So his movement value, most things in 40k, their movement value is 6 inches, certainly humans, but again, that unfortunate lack of knees and speed due to being a robot lets UR-25 down here, so he's got a movement of 5. His weapon skill and ballistic skill, however, are fairly good. He's hitting on 3s in both cases there. There is a modifier to that which we'll come to in just a moment when it comes to close combat. He's got a reasonable strength of 5 and a toughness of 5, so it's quite difficult to wound. He's got 4 wounds, which is fabulous, and again we'll see that he's actually a little bit tougher than even that. He's only got the 2 attacks, and again I think that feeds into his slowness, his lack of speed as a robot. He does hit pretty damn hard though. His leadership value is 8, so he's not going to be breaking from combat anytime soon, which is quite useful. But again, I find it odd that he doesn't have a higher leadership value. I mean, he could be so much higher, you wouldn't think he would run away from anything. And as you might expect from someone who is essentially just a walking suit of armour, he has a save of 3+. Let's see now. So he is a single model equipped with that Mark 1 assault cannon and the power claw. You can only include 1 in your army, of course, because there is only 1 UR-25. We don't know if there's any more Men of Iron, but there's definitely only 1 UR-25. Weapon-wise, he's got his Mark 1 assault cannon, and in common with BlackStone Fortress, with it being sort of a moderate ranged weapon, and indeed with assault cannons and a new chain cannon for the Chaos Havoc box, it has a range of 24. It fires 4 shots, and which is actually 1 more than it does in BlackStone Fortress. But then they didn't want to get too carried away, obviously. That also has a strength of 5, an AP of -1, and a damage of 1. It's got no special abilities, so it can't multi-track. But my understanding of the 40k rules is you can fire at different models. I'm not sure if you can fire at different models with different shots. So okay, it's wounding a Space Marine on a 3+. It's knocking 1 off their armor save, so the Space Marine goes down to a 4+ save. Not an amazing weapon, certainly not any good for killing vehicles. As you can expect with a high rate of fire, it's pretty good at killing mobs of infantry, which are typically low armor save anyway. Now the power claw is again where things get interesting, just like in BlackStone Fortress. It is a melee weapon. It times his strength by 2, which takes it all the way up to the heady heights of 10. It has an AP of -3, so that takes the marine save down to 6+. -4, -5, yep, 6+. The damage on this one is D3, so an average of 2. And where I said there was a modifier was that, to his weapon skill, was that he has to subtract 1 from his hit roll. So that 3+ weapon skill is actually technically a 4+. And where I said about his wounds having a bit of a modifier to them, in BlackStone Fortress he has the repair systems. In 40k he has self-repair systems, so slightly different wording. But at the start of the battle round, UR-025 regains 1 lost wound. So as long as he doesn't suffer 4 wounds in a single turn, he's always got at least 2 wounds at the start of his turn, which is phenomenal. He's very, very tough indeed. In terms of faction keywords, he has Imperium, which is slightly funny considering he's not aligned with humans at all. Robotica Imperialis, which I believe from the top of my head means that he can be included obviously in an Imperium army, but primarily in an Adeptus Mechanicus army. On top of that, his more general keywords are character, infantry, Imperial robot, and UR-25. Now, I'm not as au fait with 8th edition 40k as perhaps I could be. I don't know the meta game as well as I did 7th, but just getting a feel for UR-25 and the other characters we've covered in this series in 40k, I really don't think that they are meant to be included in competitive games of 40k. None of these characters are particularly standout. The one that comes to mind immediately as being a little bit of a waste in terms of using in a competitive army is Amelin. She is an elite choice in the Eldar army, and what I do know is Eldar, and the elite choice has always been a viciously contested spot. It's very, very almost overpopulated with choice, because that's where you do all the fine tuning of an Eldar army. So again, with an elite choice consisting of a single model, I don't think UR-25 will be turning up at any grand tournaments unless somebody's got exactly 40 points and nothing else in their collection. I don't think you're ever going to face this one in a points match game. Where these characters do seem to shine is going to be in more story-based or narrative play games, and I for one would love to see something where you had to, and potentially with a GM included, or some method of randomizing movement of sentries and things. I'd love to see UR-25 breaking into an Imperial facility somewhere, maybe an Adeptus Mechanicus facility, and going after some component or knowledge or some bit of technology or programming as an objective, and having to, despite being a gigantic robot, sort of sneak through the building and avoid capture and dissection by the Mechanicus. And the same with Amelin. I'm sure, especially with the new Hedonite models coming out for Slaanesh, I think it would be amazing to see Amelin Shadow Guide wandering around on a Crone world looking for something to help save her craft world from destruction. But that's all in the future. I'm certainly interested in putting something together for UR-25, possibly using the Space Hulk board, or even BlackStone Fortress, and playing 40k on there. I will let you know how that goes. In the meantime, thank you very much for tuning in and watching the video. Leave a like, comment, please subscribe, share the video any way you can. Check out the Patreon, which is in the links down below. That helps me to fund model purchases and other fun things like that. I'm currently saving up for the dreaded amble, so anything you can do to help towards that would be phenomenal. There's also other ways of funding the store. If you actually want something concrete back for your money, you can go to Teespring, and Teespring have currently bearded brushstrokes, t-shirts, tank tops, there's hoodies, etc., even socks with the bearded brushstrokes symbol on there, the channel logo. And finally, check out Facebook and Instagram for daily posts about geekery in all its forms that I take part in anyway, and occasionally a little bit about mental health as well. In the meantime, as I say, thank you very much for watching. Be kind to yourself, be kind to each other, and I'll see you next time.